What's going on, guys? Lightning Thunderbolt here. We're back once again. Today, we got some more Sonic Frontiers gameplay, and this was actually a pretty significant one. Now, I know I have yet to cover the interview with Izuka, but there's a reason I'm waiting to get into that, because there was a lot of information there, and it's it's good that I waited, because this particular gameplay sort of puts what he said into a better light, and things are shaping up to be rather interesting here. I feel like the sense of momentum isn't quite perfect, but well, there's a lot to go over here, so we're just they give us a lot all at once. The link to this video will be in the description. This is a compilation of all the footage we got today on Monday. It's Monday, yeah, it's Monday. So this is a video by GamersPrey, Prey, and I will put the link to their channel in the description to where you can find this original video, but they took the liberty of compiling all the footage we got today of the new gameplay. There have been a lot of leaks surfacing too. Well, not leaks, but just people who have gotten to play the public demo, which they're not showing much of that, but you know, screenshots have been surfacing. We've been getting a lot over the last few days, and there's stuff worth looking into here, but it's weird because there obviously is a later version of the game that seems to play better. They're still using the Forces model, which seems stubby, but there's more stretch and there's a lot more attitude to the animations, and just there seems to be more quality to the gameplay than we originally thought. So let me just stop talking and let's get right into it. So it's what are we looking at? It's like exploration, puzzles. I think it was like free roam puzzles and combat. And the combat in particular, what I've been saying the last few days, like the combat seems to be the high point of the game, and they seem to be going all in on this because we were talking about how it looked very anime influenced. You're going to see this later in the video, but we need to get into this. So let's go ahead and just take a look at the footage. So anyway, already I'm noticing in this version the frame rate is better. You know, a different side of this tower. And right here, I'm sorry, but I have to say this. It's like, this is a bit of a nitpick, but I'm like, come on. That's just Spagonia. That's Rooftop Run and Unleashed. Like, come on now. You can't fool me with that. They literally reused that. Part of me is like, come on now. Don't just do that with balloons. That's kind of cheap, but at the same time, part of me is like, oh, maybe they're just doing it to be like, hey, remember this from the clock tower? Wasn't that endearing? And it's like, all right. I mean, like, look, just capitalize on what's good about this game and give us the quality in large quantities, since it's been 5 years. But you know, it's a small nitpick. Anyway, moving on. Just had to address that. It's a mixed bag, I suppose. A little bit of automation there, but that's okay. They're actually like, and he does slow down the rail there, so it feels like maybe there's a bit greater of a sense of gravity. Listen carefully to the sound effects when he climbs up the wall here, when he runs up the wall. Did you hear that? They sort of used, there's almost like a jingling of bells, but it's very echoey and distant, like with his footsteps when he's on this specifically different colored wall, which I found interesting. It seems like Sonic has to sort of catch onto the wall before he's able to go into the gravity-defying wall run animation here. But it seems like you are able to go right into the wall run. But yeah, I find it interesting. We need to go back to that for a moment. I find it interesting that he's it's like they seem to offer, in whatever this version is, they're offering more control. Were they specifically showing us just an earlier build to hype us up? Because I guess that's better, but everyone's confused by the marketing campaign now. It's like it's a roller coaster because we don't really know what to think. After today's reveal, though, as you'll probably see, it's like I'm getting better impressions from this game. Better, but like, you know, it's not all there yet, but it's still too early to tell. But if this is, as time goes on, if we're seeing later and later versions of the game, like more recent versions of the game, and it's more indicative of the final product, then that's good. That gives us hope for, like, it seems more refined. Graphically, it's seeming more refined. In terms of the combat gameplay, it's seeming more refined. Movement is seeming slightly more refined, but we still don't know yet. And it seems like they're sort of using, like, the footsteps seem reminiscent of, like, Lost World, which, I mean, that's all right. I mean, it's somewhat appropriate for the sound effect. But now watch after this wall run what happens here. Sam pointed this out earlier today in his video. Okay, did you notice it? Let me go back to this. So they go into the dash state. And now look at that. Sonic, you know, they were staying at the higher speed. That kind of movement reminded me a little bit of Adventure and Adventure 2. Like I'm not going to jump to conclusions, right? But as I look at that, as I look at how he moved, I think we have, because Sam was like, if that section's not automated, then I'm happy because there's the worry about like, what if that particular area is automated? But the thing is, I think we've seen before that it's not. We don't know for sure, but as he runs on this, right, it looks like you have complete control of your steering. The sense of momentum actually feels a bit better there. Like it sort of feels more realistic or more, I guess, maybe not momentum, but the sense of movement at least. The turning radius seems better, and that was very important. There was also confirmed in some leaks, or not leaks. There was also confirmed in by some people who had played the demo build, the public demo build, that there was like they can't talk about it much, right? But there seems to be this presence of a system where you can control how you want Sonic to, well, control in the world. You can adjust his speed, you can adjust his turning radius, you can adjust a lot of different features to make him control how you want. It's almost as if Sega was like, all right, we heard you, you want better control of Sonic, so hey, we're giving you the option to adjust it yourself. See, the thing is, like, that makes me hopeful, but then again, it was like the idea that they heard, hey, well, we don't know what character to add, we're going to give you the custom character it forces, the avatar, because, hey, you can't hate putting yourself in the game, right? And that's good, but our customization options were limited with that, as you remember, right? Like, my hope is if they're going to give us customization over Sonic's moveset tailored to each player's own personal interest, that's good. But it's going to depend on the range, right? It's going to depend on how much we can adjust it. Because if it's just like minimal forces turning and then like Unleashed style control, it's like, no, you need to go give us as far as Adventure. But like, you know, as I watch him run here, if this, like Sam was saying, Sam procrastinates, if this is not automated, if this right here, if that's not automated, that offers a great sense of control. So that's definitely good. I also want to point out here, didn't notice this at the earlier time that we went to this part of the tower. But notice how like you could choose to take this rail, or you could wall run up. The rail obviously lets you get to a higher area, which you're going to see. Also, regarding these purple coin-looking things, my friend Eclipse was mentioning it looks like a Chow head. I think it was confirmed because on Sam's channel they had mentioned that it looked someone said it looked like a fishing hook, right? And no sooner than we heard that, then I think it was confirmed that there's a fishing mini game in this, and it's like purple coins, fishing mini game. So everyone was speculating Big the Cat, and I'm like, all right, of all the replay value things to add, I mean, as long as it's good, I guess it's like whatever. But why are you giving us that instead of a Chow Garden? And do we even know whether the Chow Garden is deconfirmed? It's nothing. We don't know yet. You know, there's a lot of new information like coming along. But anyway, now watch this section. Right, we get a look at the upper path. You jump, you stick to this, and you see this is a pillar, right? So you would think when Sonic runs off of it, it's like, oh no, am I gonna fall off if I break the flat plane that I'm on? If I go to another perpendicular to a surface that's perpendicular to it? But this was a pretty cinematic angle, the way he grabs onto it. Notice how the camera sort of follows his movement, right? Like he's like, whoa, like it kind of leans off as he's leaning off. But then as he's running up, right, he's on the right side of this pillar. Perpendicular line corner here, right, 90-degree angle turn, boom, curves. So it's like the 90-degree angles of the pillar. I think they give the collision a more of a cylindrical feel to it, and I think that allows him to stay on. I like the way Sonic sticks to the environment more because it gives you a greater sense of control, and I like that. Like watch again how he turns. Like he grabs on, he sticks to it all the way up. There doesn't seem to be much of a problem. And it also seems like, you know, there's like with Stomp, there's like the crouch button. Watch this camera pan too, because it looks like you have free control of the camera, which we have been asking for a while. We've been asking for that to come back. Look how smooth this pan is. Watch this. Look at very smooth, no slowdown. The animations look clean here. And watch the rail animation. In this build, see how he flipped in this build? In this build, the rail animation is fixed. They fixed. Let me just show you that cinematic angle again, where it pans down. Right, he runs up. You can pretty easily stick to this. Look like it feels like you have a good sense of control based on what we're seeing. Pans down, very smooth animation. I do want to point that out. You still haven't fixed this, Sega. And I guess it's like, oh, but you can just stop. And I guess with the combat options, it's okay. I still want to say Sonic should not uncurl from his spin jump until he hits the ground, unless that was like linked to a button or something. Like, I'm still complaining about this. In 3D, like, you know, full roam environments, which should in fact have adventure influence. You know, it pans down. Like, watch. He jumps. He stays in the spin form for a while, but then he uncurls. That bothers me that he uncurls. No, he should stay in the spin form until he hits the ground. And I mean, if he's not staying in the spin form, at least give him a hitbox when he's falling where he can bounce off of the enemies. But it's like, it's easier for him to stay in the spin animation, because how else would you know, right? That's just my personal preference, but I think I'm not alone in that sentiment. But anyway, watch once again. He flips to the right rail. Watch the animation here. See, in this one, it's fixed. That's the correct animation. It's all the correct animations this time. Now let's pause really quick here. Gotta try to find the exact right frame, because we've seen that before. I think, let me look at the dash rings animations, one more time. They seem a bit cleaner now. Now right here, these were like what a lot of people were calling in the leaks the rock Korok type NPCs. See, my thing with these is, I think these are some different form of Chow, or I hope that's not like what the Chow actually are, but they're like maybe corrupted or futuristic Chow that maybe you have to free or something like that. But like, it's so hard to actually get a look at them to tell what they are. They have different features, but like, listen very carefully, very, very carefully to the sounds they make here. That is definitively a Chow sound. Prove me wrong. That is definitively a Chow sound. There's no doubt in my mind. Guys, these are Chow. Like, so far, a lot of the leaks have been true, and in many of those leaks, that like Chow were mentioned. Like, and they made Chow-like sounds right there. Those are definitely Chow. I'm telling you. The way they're moving, the sounds they're making, like the cha, that sound right there. It's like it's definitely a Chow sound. Those have got to be Chow, and that begs the question: just why are they rock-like creatures? What's going on? Is that, if that's a story relevant thing, then that's great. If that's a story relevant plot point, then that's great. But if it's just, oh, we're designing them different for the sake of designing them different, it's like, no, because like, learn from the mistakes of what Sonic Boom was trying to do. Because as I look back at it, it's like there were some adventure elements in there. There was too much exploration. The combat felt too button mashy, which it does not here. So that's a point in the positive category for them right here. But then there's you know, and then there's like the sense of speed. The sense of speed is there. The feeling of momentum is not. And we have to talk about like some other information. Like, they're saying in later builds of the game, from those who have played it, that because of the skill tree, the spin dash is confirmed. It's pretty likely that it will be something you can eventually unlock. Apparently, that spin cycle or side loop, I'm just going to call it ribbon loop because that's what it is. It's Pac-Man World 3 ribbon loop. The ribbon loop is like one of the first abilities you unlock in the skill tree, because you're going to use it for a lot of different things, which I think is interesting. And then furthermore, they you know, it's just like the sense of speed is there, the sense of momentum. It's like the spin dash needs to have that sense of momentum. It needs to have like that feel of gravity. It seems like in this build there's a bit more influence with gravity, like with the rail there. There's still not enough that they're showing us to tell, and it might be that there's only a sense of speed and speed force and not momentum. But honestly, if the rest of the game is solid, it's like it will probably mask it enough. I still feel like you need it, but I don't know. Let's move on. Oh, before I forget, one last thing, and I apologize. Remember how I was saying like a lot of this seems like Black Knight influence? Like there's two more things I want to talk about. Like I think I'm right about the idea of them using storybook influence because there was a recently revealed tweet or picture that a couple of my friends have been posting and informing me about on Discord. And from what I've seen, they've shown the HUD. It looks like some of the collectibles are the rings, the keys, the gears, and the hearts, like we've been seeing. So that all lines up. It looks like the bottom right corner is a speedometer. Top left was all those things I just mentioned. Bottom left seems to display. Bottom left of the HUD, from what we saw at a closer look, it seems like there's um, four types of skills that you can sort of influence in terms of just your general movement, and it looked to be speed, attack, defense, and ring/health. And now the important thing is if you look at the rings in this screenshot, I'm sure you'll be able to find it if you look. But in this particular screenshot with the HUD on the top left, the ring said a certain number out of a certain other number, and it looks like this number can be increased. So they're taking that health system idea from the storybooks, where you can increase your maximum number of rings, and you can hold more and more at a time, and you only lose like I guess 20 at a time. And like that's good. I like that they're bringing that back. It's something to be said for like the ranking system in like the stages, and maybe the cyberspace levels when we see them will play differently. But in terms of the overall game, since there's a combat system, it's good that they're limiting the number of rings you can lose because it makes it feel more like a health system. But that idea that they're bringing that back from like Secret Rings, Black Knight, that's good. I like that. And didn't I say they'd be using storybook influence? I had been saying this quite a bit from the start before like a lot of others. So I think it's interesting how like I'm seeing a lot of these things, and a few others were also noticing it as well. But I don't think we appreciate that enough. So anyway, moving on. Maybe the run's a little bit better. This is some more exploration. Okay, I think I see what the issue is with the tricks. The animation looks a bit smoother, but like look here. It's like it's the same animation from Generations, but it's sped up too much to still look too jerky and stiff and awkward. This is another interesting detail. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I just missed it. But right there on, you can see it when he falls too. I'll back it up. But on this particular structure right here, you can see an Eggman symbol. Like they pointed this out on Sam's channel too. There's an Eggman symbol right there. So it's like, is this like old and like defunct Eggman tech right now? Is Eggman still going to be present in the game? You would think he needs to, but it's like, where did he go after forces? That goes back to Azuka saying they're creating the sense of mystery, which I find somewhat interesting. But anyway, if you look again, yeah, you can see it pretty clearly there. That's the Eggman symbol. Yep, saw some more purple coins there. Yep, no, that's definitely the Eggman symbol. So it makes you think what Eggman has to do with this world. Now look at this. Almost no slowdown here. This looks very clean. We see that the tall rock-looking NPC. These guys, like the more environmental-looking ones, seem to be like peaceful NPCs and not enemies. And I guess it was mentioned that you can give the gears or some other form of collectible to like a sage, or there's this one type of NPC that you would find eventually in the somewhere in the world, and it makes me wonder: is this that particular NPC that you exchange these things with in order to unlock other skills or other parts of the world? So that was definitely interesting. But yeah, it was a lot of news emerging today, so I'm just trying to like remember all the details to give you guys the best idea. You can also see some other structures here that we can explore. If we go higher, we'll likely be able to get onto those rails. You can kind of see where the rails are connecting, so it looks a bit more natural. The rails floating still look out of place there, but again, I don't think it's going to be the big, like, as I look at this build of the game, you're focused more on Sonic's sense of movement, the fact that the graphics feel smooth, and this is a big open world, and it seems to be working just fine, and of course the combat, which you'll see later. Like, we're about to see one of the new things with combat. I want to point this out here, though. Like, look at that animation. I'll explain what it is later, but he's running, and then all of a sudden, whoop! Just Just like running. It's like now I didn't know what it was at first. I analyzed it with some friends earlier, and we were thinking, is that like a rolling animation, spin dash confirmed? But no, it's you'll see it later when Sonic is falling and he's going in that dash using that dash move. He sort of does like this crisscross type flip where I think it's just an animation for falling off a ledge or vaulting or something. And I mean, yeah, it looks cool, but I just thought it was interesting that we mistaken it for that. But I'm hoping that we will eventually see spin dash and like the upgrades and everything. But anyway, so this particular enemy right here, finally get to see how the wheel enemy attacks. It can also attack like a spinning top, which I think is interesting. But they mentioned that part of the control system was the bumpers are Sonic's dodge move, which it looks like you can dodge pretty much act out of anything, as you'll see in the combat later in the video. That seems to confirm it, which the combat actually seems even smoother than it did before. And honestly, it already looked pretty decent except for the animations, but it seems like they're giving him and his spines, the animations, more of a sense of physics. But if you tap both of the dodge buttons together, remember, they said that you can perform a parry mechanic. And I was trying to think, what could that be? I'm like, did we see it before? We hadn't, because I think this is what it is. Watch very carefully. So he comes up on the enemy, attacks once, backs off, invites him to attack, and now watch this. Look at that! Look at that again. Like, I mean... Attacks, backs off. Bam! Like, I don't know, it's like, what, did he just, like, poke it with his fist, but, or did he slap it? I don't know if that was the move he did. A lot of people are saying it's a slap. I guess he does? It's hard to tell. I'm looking at his hand. Oh! And it looked like he was sort of holding it and pulling it back slightly. Do you have to tap it at the same time, or is it if you hold it, you can parry an attack and then you have a window of vulnerability? Either way would be interesting, but I would imagine tapping it because the idea of acting out of almost any move, it seems good because they want to give that player the sense of freedom and not feel like their controls are locked. But I just can't get over this animation, man. Like, this is the parry mechanic, like attacks, backs off, and then look at this. Like, the fact that the screen goes into, like, almost this, like, sort of faded filter and, like, it's slow-mo, it pans behind Sonic, it's cinematic. Like, just look at it. Boom, look at that. It's so good. Like, listen, man. I'm not trying to get myself overhyped, but a lot of us have been calling for a more serious tone to the story, and just, like, with the movements, like, that's very Black Knight-esque. That's very, like, anime or like shonen anime influenced, and it's like that's good. Like, I want to point this out again. You gotta give Sega points, credit where credit is due. This right here, Sega, this move, right here, that right there, that's the anime influence we're looking for. We want more of that. That is good. Keep doing that. We like seeing that in this game. That's very, very good. Do more of that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna watch it one more time. I know I've gone over too much, but like, look at that. That's clean. That's clean. All right, this part coming up. He runs along here. Now look, he collects something. Like, you see, and you can see it pretty clearly here. It's a little bit blurry, but one of those rock Korok or Chow looking. Someone said they were called Kikis, and I'm like, isn't that the name of the? No, not Kikis. That's the name of the adventure. No, it's Cocos, I think. Cocos? I don't know. That seems weird that they're called that. So they're not Chow. I don't. If they're a replacement for Chow, I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about that. Chow are too iconic to be replaced. But if there's a Chow Garden-esque thing and these are I don't know, man. The Chow design is iconic. You can't get rid of that. Maybe they change depending on what the mechanics are. I don't know. It's too early to tell with that. But apparently they're scattered around the world, and this is kind of like some Sonic Advance 3, I think it was, the one where you're able to like collect the Chow in the stages and bring them to the gardens and everything. But it's interesting that they're all just kind of hiding around as more collectibles, and finding them. It's like, what would that do? Like, are the ones in the rocks ones that you've collected, and like collecting enough of them restores other parts of the open zone and unlocks more of the mysteries? But either way, Sonic passes through. There's a little like blip to let you know that he's collected it. And then you see that spin. Like, that was pretty cool. That was pretty clean. The animation seems smooth. Like, that's a smooth-looking vault animation right there. Anyway, we get a path to another collectible. It does look like you can jump in midair, because it looked like he got some extra height off of that. That was definitely good. Yeah, like he falls, he jumps, he's able to get to the spring. That's a cool cinematic angle. The tricks look kind of stiff, though. It looks like the homing range is pretty accurate and generous, which I appreciate. I just want to watch that scenario one more time. But that's a clean animation. I kind of like that. Still looking for spin dash, though. Anyway, falls off, double jumps, hits that. And it looks like, yeah, you see like these particle effect looking things. And they're going to, I guess, the bottom right. And if I remember seeing the gauge correctly, that's where the speed meter was. Sam was also talking about the idea that there could be a stamina meter. That like maybe it's not experience. It's like when you defeat enemies, there's like stamina and it's limited. And that was definitely something that was taken from Breath of the Wild influence. But you know, it's I think that's relatively good. It's somewhat interesting with Sonic. I don't know what, like, we see a better view of these pillars here that we had seen before. I don't know what these are, but the ruins kind of feel to everything. That definitely feels interesting. You know, they're nailing the mysterious feel so far, and like again, as we see more and more gameplay, this does seem like a later build, and you know, it's like if the gameplay continues to progress in this direction, I'm liking what I'm seeing. So we go up here. You know, we snag, you know, some more rings, another collectible. And then a little bit of slowdown on that dash pad. It's definitely the Force's jump ball, but Premi was pointing out that the jump ball animation or the jump ball physics seem a bit better here. By the way, combat gameplay coming up. So anyway, it seems like, yeah, it seems like you actually get more height from the double jump, and you have more turning control. Like, I want to look at that one more time. Running still looks stiff, though, but whatever. It does feel like you have more movement. Jerky as it might be, stiff as it might be, it seems like you have more movement, and it's a bit cleaned up. But the double jump seems like that from Colors, and I'm glad for that because I will, like, not say what you will about Colors, and hey, believe me, I definitely have some things that I've gotten tired of with Colors. But if you're going to give him the double jump, Colors double jump, in my opinion, was the best controlling double jump. I wonder if you can spam Stomp like in Colors, because that was a pretty clean controlling modern Sonic. I don't want this to control like modern. I want it to control like adventure, because if we're in open world, it needs to have that adventure feel. But the combat, for the most part, is giving off those kind of vibes, and you know, it's improving with every bit of gameplay that we see. And if this is indicative, again, of the final product, that's good. Anyway, so we need to discuss this enemy and this whole sequence right here coming up. So this is an arena. It's right before the door area. Now we look at this. Look at the walk. Look at the walk. I mean, you look at the way this enemy is structured, and you look at the wall, like, you know, everyone is just saying, like, oh, dang, thick enemy, and I'm just like, stop. Like, I get the frame, but you look at the way this thing walks and attacks. I'm just going to let you watch this entire sequence, and then we'll analyze it. Very impactful attacks. Watch the combat here. Look at that. He dodges around while staying locked onto the enemy. That's good. Look at this attack sequence. Like, what? Watch again. Like, the cinematic dodge. That is in... Oh, and then the explosion at the end? Like, look at that. And then, of course, there's the gear. Animation be looking very clean. Now, like, we just have to go over this scenario one more time. Just from beginning to end. So, you know, he walks in. You're in the arena. This is another boss enemy, or mini boss, as you can see. But, like, you know, the cinematic zoom in indicating, like, yeah, this is a big baddie. You're going to want to watch out for this one. So that gives you a good sense of, and, you know, it's pretty dramatic. But just with the walk, like, again, very anime influenced, like anime AF, and like you see the way this enemy walks just with the way it's structured. I get that it's just a bunch of like sort of polygons giving it somewhat of a maybe a slightly bland and impersonal feel, but like they still manage to make it work because like these enemies feel almost kind of hollow. They almost feel a bit like they have that movement, but they're sentient enemies, but they don't have a soul. And is that going to tie into the story? That's relatively interesting, and I feel like that's the design they're going for. But you look at the walk, and it just the walk with how the arms are like this is like that feminine like that like the enemy looks very feminine in nature, and it's like this is like that female anime villain who like has like dual wielding katanas and just walks in and then just goes absolutely ham on you when you get too close and try to attack and everything. But it's like I like that they're putting that kind of influence in here. Like again, anime influence, shonen style influence. It's good. We want this. These are all positives for the game. This is what's getting a lot of people, myself included, more excited for this. This is looking good. Like you gauge almost everyone's reaction to like this particular scene, and almost everyone is in unanimous agreement this is clean. And we've been asking for more serious style gameplay and story for years, and it seems like they are going in that direction. And we don't know much about the story yet, but again, we do have Flynn writing it, and like he's written on Archie, he's written on IDW, and now he's writing for his first official Sonic game. And so there's a lot of hope here. It's a matter of how much freedom are they going to give him. But let's analyze this attack sequence real quick. And I do like how the enemy has sort of like, because like Sonic has those sort of faint, like that faint homing attack where he's like I'm over here, no I'm over here, and then he actually attacks like the Lightspeed attack looking thing that we saw earlier. And we haven't seen them pull that move off. So I wonder if that's like a later, more powerful move you unlock, like Lightspeed attack, Sonic Wind, and Blue Tornado. All three of those are probably like way later abilities that are refined that you unlock, because those are like cinematic finishers. The Teria kick, the backflip like Teria kick, that's probably another cinematic finisher that you unlock later in the game as well, because like those seem pretty powerful and pretty impactful. They also seem like they give you a lot of iframes, and they're generous with that, so they're like safe on a lot of enemy attacks. Just the way it like fake dodges. And I also like the how they use like the SA2 like back button sound, like as like the dashing in sound, the dodge sound. It's always good to hear like more of the adventure sounds. Anyway, so jumps in, attacks a few times, demonstrating that if you go for a finisher, if you don't dodge at the right time, and there's plenty of windup, so there's plenty of indication like you want to dodge pretty soon, because like it's a slow windup, but the attacks are very fast, so you're going to want to dodge away. Anyway, so then they show off more competent combat. This enemy blocks, like they show that the enemy blocks, and this is obviously someone who's practiced. Like again, the enemies aren't just brain dead. You don't just like wait for a thing to be attacked and then attack. You don't just button mash mindlessly. It's like you time your attacks. Some of these enemies will block, so you're going to need to time your attacks. You're going to need to wait to attack, dodge around, and it looks like you watch here, indicating that the enemy will block. So there's likely a lock-on button, or maybe Sonic stays locked on when he's attacking an enemy within a certain timing window. But if you dodge pretty much like right away, like look at that. Look at like he dodges. There's like that cinematic slowdown. His spines have like they sort of like go to the right direction. They flow with the wind. So it's like that dodge behind. It's literally like the Goku Ultra Instinct type. I can talk tonight. That Goku like Ultra Instinct type thing where he like dodges behind, and it's like the what? Huh? Nani? It's like dodges behind, and then you have like an opportunity to attack, because again they're cinematically slowing things down. They're using like sound for those like extra effects to like to give the gamer that feeling of what Evan from Tails channel called flow state and everything, which is very important. Like you dodge around, you get to get in a few more attacks, and then you see the attacks coming, and then you're like, okay, get a few more in, and it's like, oh shoot, gotta dodge away. And then just these attacks right here, the way the enemy attacks as well, getting a few more. Look at that. Look at that attack sequence. like, it's so cool that it's like sword influence and everything. And like, we gotta talk about the next attack sequence after this enemy, because we talked about that little thread thing, that invisible white thread that was sort of coming off of Sonic. Like, that's very Demon Slayer influence, and I think they're using that kind of influence. Like, I see the thread, that's my opportunity to attack, and that's good. I like that they're referencing that. We want more of that. But anyway, so this last attack sequence here. Anyway, blocks again, dodges around. You sort of saw like the thread, and that might be a reference to like one of Sonic's original lore documents, talking about how he has like that speed force or that speed sense thing. Scarlet would definitely be able to like explain more about it, because I know he actually has studied that a bit more than I have. But like that idea of Sonic having like being attuned to the speed force and just being like, to him, we're seeing this world through Sonic's eyes. We're seeing it through his perception. And right, so we attack a few times, he dodges. It's like this enemy is moving in slow motion, and he's able to get in a lot of attacks. See, now that's good. It's good that they make him perceive in his perception, the enemy's moving slow, but to the enemy's perception, Sonic's moving really fast, and they use the sound effects to convey that. That's very, very good. I'm liking the sound design more and more. And even with how Sonic attacks, everything from the punches to when he's punching when the enemy is blocking, to the final blow, and the explosion. Just chef's kiss, beautiful, mwah, love it. And look at the animation of the gear, almost no slowdown. And again, that idle stance there. It's because he got damaged. Maybe Sam was speculating there's a stamina gauge, and maybe he's out of stamina. I'm starting to believe that more and more. But it's like he has the pose where the ready stance, like he did in Adventure. When you land a certain way, he has like the idle stance, and then there's the ready stance, as like, okay, here are enemies, I've got to get ready. And then this is like almost an exhausted stance from fighting, because it's like, oh man, that was a tough battle. It's like I got hit a few times, or I exhausted a lot of stamina. And maybe exhausting your stamina slows down your attacks. But anyway, let's look at the next scenario. So we got this sort of like totem pole like enemy here. Ooh, totem pole. But you have to eliminate each of these layers of it to get it close enough to attack. And then right there, so I want to go back to the enemy sounds here. Like, I don't know, just like that hollow sounding like enemy screech there. Like it's very mysterious and it's interesting, and I like the darker tone they're going for with the enemies. I like the more serious tone they're going for. And then like I paused on a perfect frame here, like right here. This invisible particle, like whitish, clear-colored looking thread here, it's like, that's Sonic's, perception of the enemy. It's like the enemy goes up, and this is to indicate Sonic being like, hey, wait a minute, there's an attack incoming. There's an opportunity for me to dodge, parry, or counter. It's like that's likely what that's indicating. Like, this is very Demon Slayer-esque. It's like you see that, I see the thread, and you see that like it's like Sonic dodges, and now the thread gets taut. It gets like, it was loose before, and now it's showing, hey, now's your opportunity to attack, or like act out of the move and everything. And it's like that's really good. That's really good. I like that they're doing that. That's definitely something that I'm hyped to see. But he like dodges, and then you have like, and it seems like, because see, before he gets knocked away and he takes damage, with this rotating thing, it looks like that's just sort of like he takes knockback but not damage. Maybe you just take like stamina hit points if it is a stamina system, like a lot of other YouTubers are speculating. But anyway, with this enemy, it floats, it can move around. You take out the layers of it. Now I want to point that out too. Once again, showing that you can spin cycle to more quickly. It's going to be pretty obvious. If there are enemies that seem cylindrical in nature, it seems like you're going to be able to spin cycle them to sort of take them out quicker if they require multiple hits. Like, certain attacks will deal with certain enemies and tackle certain enemies better, and I like that they give you that option. Like, giving the movement options, the combat options, the options for how to tackle challenges to the player. That's definitely good, and we're starting to see it more with this emerging gameplay footage, and we're getting quite a bit of it. And I want to point this out here. Sonic did boost here, but as he attacks this one, it's slower, but then, watch this. Like that right there, we weren't quite sure of the turning radius, but right there, he maintained and almost top speed, or a very good sense of speed, while using the ribbon loop ability. Like, watch again. He has the, like to point out, it's like, it looks like there's a 5, like, you know, does the homing attack here, boom, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 is like the finisher hit. Very similar to Shadow's Chaos attack. I like that they're doing that. You know, and then you watch how much speed he maintains here while maintaining his turning radius. Look at that, wasn't in Forces. That's not in the modern games. You see that right there. Right there. We have to talk about this. We have to be talking about this. We have to point out the positives as well as the negatives. Sega can't think that we're always negative when we're analyzing their games, because yes, there needs to be some cleanup of things. We're not fully seeing the sense of momentum, but it's becoming more and more apparent. But this right here, Sega. Right here, Sega. This move right here. That right there. Right there. That's what we want to see. He maintains a good sense of speed, a good sense of momentum, and he turns. He has a good turning radius while he's maintaining his speed. His turning radius is still tight. The movement feels very, very smooth. He has a good tight turning radius. The movement feels smooth, and he maintains a high sense of speed. That's what we want. That is adventure-styled movement. Remember what I said. Sonic is not just the fastest thing alive. He's the most agile thing alive. And that is representative through what we're seeing of the combat so far, and it's representative through movement like this. This right here, that, more of that, Sega. Maintaining his speed while also having that tight, fluid, and smooth turning radius. Tight turning radius with a good sense of speed. We want to see more of that. And it feels like we've been saying this for a while, and it feels like Sega is listening. Like, it feels like if that's going to be indicative of the final product, I know I've been repeating myself, but again, we don't know what the final product is going to be like. We don't know yet. Azuka says the team's working hard, and it's like, if that's what the final product is going to be like, we're in business. That is the kind of movement we want to see. We like the combat options. We like that we can act out of any attack, and we like the idea of maintaining speed with turning radius. Not just the fastest thing alive, the most agile thing alive. And that is how you indicate it. That's how you do it. Do more movement like that in the final game. More of that, Sega. That is what we want to see. That is what we want to see. I know I sound like a broken record, but again, we've had so many games that have flopped because they've looked promising, but it's like we're actually getting a lot of gameplay here. And the thing is, like, we need to emphasize, yes, that is a positive. What we saw in that spin cycle there, that's a positive. Like, just do it again. Let me just emphasize it again, right here. Good turning radius, good sense of speed. That looks fantastic. Do more of that. Roger's voice acting feels like it's a little bit better. I'm liking it more and more as things go on, but it could be the tone of the game as well. That's really helping it. But yeah. Anyway, now the enemy is like, you know, the head seems to be the top of it seems to be the weak point. So it seems like it's trying to guard that area, which is indicated here. So now it goes into sort of a pinch mode, and watch what it does. Watch this very carefully. Yeah, look at these. Remember these? These were from like that cinematic cutscene in the teaser we saw. So like, it seems like a lot of these hollow-looking enemies will have the ability to shoot out these projectiles here. So Sonic has got to use his speed, of course, to watch out for them. And it looks like, yeah, the enemy functions more like a spinning top rather than a totem pole when it's because it's able to guard itself more with that like rotating part. But then watch how the player indicates how you're supposed to tackle this. Now, you see the thread? He was focusing on the enemy, which is why he took damage from the projectiles there. But now the enemy's low enough, he's able to damage the top of the enemy. Now, we gotta go into that scenario. But see that? Once again.
Use the gear as you have done before.
Lot we need to analyze right there. So like that, you know. So again, the enemy, it's indicating once you get the totem, the top part here low enough on the totem pole, that's the weak point. And the sooner you can take out the top of this totem pole like enemy, the sooner you're able to eliminate it for good. Because these are just defensive properties it has. All of these spinning cylindrical parts. It's the top the top of the part. Excuse me. Hang on one second. Sorry about that. Had to clear my throat there. Apologies. Okay, I think we're still good. Yep. But it's that part. It's the top of the enemy right here, right? The top of this enemy is its weak point, and they indicate that to you through the enemy design. They indicate it through the way this player, this tester, tackles it, and that's good. It seems like well thought out, intuitive design. But we need to talk about like how the moves you can use to tackle it, right? Like when it's up in the air, you can't. There's that Demon Slayer thread where you can dodge it. It indicates you can, with a double jump, when it's this low and it's on the ground, it's high enough that you can actually target it, so then deal as much damage as you can. You can dodge away to prevent that knockback, although I don't know if you can act out of finishers. Maybe there's more like vulnerability, and you don't have as much acting power if you like, because the finishers may have like some committal behind them, and that would make sense. It makes the player have to think more, and that's good. That's it's more intuitive. Anyway. So like more attacks, right? Now like he's up in the air again, and he does like the dive attack with this spiky needle-looking structure on the bottom. So Sonic's like going for an attack here, right? You can see that. You can kind of see the stretch with the arm there, so it looks a little bit better. And a lot of YouTubers are commending the stretch on the arms. The arms could be a bit longer, the fist, the hands could be a bit bigger in his fists when he attacks. I think that's just an issue of the Forces model, but I mean, hey, what are you going to do? They've refined it a little bit, so it looks, tolerable. But anyway, yeah, he sees the Demon Slayer thread before he dodged away, but now watch what he does, because I think he parries right here. He's probably pressing both bumpers, so watch this. Enemy goes up. Right there. That wasn't a normal dodge, right? And he didn't take damage either, because the enemy comes down, right? He gets flung into the air, but like he doesn't take damage. That was like a just guard, a parry basically. So he parries the attack, right? He jumps into the air. Right now, look at that. Like he jumps into the air and does like this crazy like backflip type thing where he flips over, gets into like this perfect position, and he's like in the air right there. And then it probably looks like you have to act out of that, but then it looks like he automatically gets into the perfect position. He's high enough in the air to hit the top of the totem pole where like the weak point is, and then he just wails on the enemy, and then that just takes it apart. Cinematic finisher once again. Just look at this finisher again. Sees the thread, presses the parry button, both bumpers, is able to use that to finish off the enemy. Now that's very good design. That's like it causes the player. Look, is it mega complex or anything? No, but it causes the player to think more. And that's really, really good. I'm liking what I'm seeing here out of the combat. And the combat it really seems to be the selling point. Not that it's the most important thing. We need to see more. But that's, it's giving me a very positive feel for this. But anyway, you of course heard in the leaks about like the Ghost Girl, or like the cybernetic AI voice that was guiding Sonic. And we get our first like clear sort of listen to it here. So, we give it a listen.
Use the gear as you have done before.
Use the gear as you have done before. And the animation looked pretty clean as that was happening. I guess this was a tutorial enemy, perhaps? I love that cinematic explosion. The way it dissolves.
Use the gear as you have done.
The way it dissolves, too, is cool. Now.
Use the gear as you have done before.
Very, very interesting sounding AI voice. I like the filter they're using on it. They're doing a good job of keeping the mystery up there. But yeah, they're they give us our first listen to that voice, and it blends well with the environment. It brings up some opportunities to give some theories about the story. So it makes you think like, is Sonic gets warped into a portal. They mention like the levels being cyberspace-esque as like the bonus levels. We haven't seen them yet, so we don't know the impressions. But like all this sort of out of place cybernetic looking um, like mechanical stuff, it's not exactly mechanical. It looks ancient. It looks ancient yet futuristic at the same time. And there's this mystery behind the islands, and it makes you wonder. Like the rails look out of place floating, and we're all complaining about that. But then it makes me also think about what if the rails, the reason they're floating, right? What if that's a design choice? And what I mean by that is, what if this is not some mysterious island, but it turns out to be like for story reasons? What if it's some virtual world? What if Sonic's just trapped inside like Eggman's computer? And what if what if this has been Eggman's plan this whole time? And what if say like Tails and Amy and all of his other friends are trapped in there, and maybe he's trying to build an ideal world here and use some of his technology to like keep Sonic and friends trapped in there while he builds his ideal world on the outside using this virtual world. And maybe that's the mystery you're trying to figure out. I don't know if I've like cracked the story, but given what we've done so far, hey, if that ends up being the story, like, hey, you heard it here first. I'm just gonna get my theory out of the way right now. I did say in the past that this was going to take Black Knight influence, and it is seeming to take storybook influence. So I do stand by that. I do think I'm right about that. Now I'm saying that based on the aesthetic we're getting from the world and all we've seen so far, I'm thinking that might be the story. I think this might be a virtual world, since they say like Amy, Tails, and Sonic get pulled into a portal, and Sonic wakes up with no memory. Maybe it's a world where Eggman has nearly complete control, and Sonic basically has to use willpower and the support of his friends, hopefully working together with them as playables and not just having them in the background, to get out of the world and to stop Eggman or whatever this new threat is. Because they're saying Eggman's not in the world, but I don't know. I don't know. It's rather interesting to speculate. But it's getting to that point because there's enough intrigue here that I'm starting to theorize about it. But anyway, what we see here is some puzzle gameplay. Frame rate's looking pretty clean here. I want to talk about something else, by the way. I'm sorry, it was a bad frame to pause. Something else is that we haven't mentioned it much, but like there seems to be time of day cycles and weather cycles. I hope it's not just based on how far you've progressed, but there do seem to be time of day and weather cycles. And if that's the case, if they are cycles based on an internal clock, I'm hoping that's the case, because that's really, really good. That fits the aesthetic of this world, and I'm liking what they're doing with that. Also, I don't know if I just want to go back for a moment. We'll get back to this in a second, but I don't think there's as much pop-in in this world. In this version of the game, it feels like the pop-in isn't as much. Like, I'm looking around, it feels like they've had things in the distance enough, and there's enough of like a haze on them. Maybe there's a little bit, but it's less noticeable. Like, I'm looking back at the gameplay. Like, because right here, do the rocks pop in on the ground? Not that I could see. I feel like they did a better job with that. I want to look at this footage as well, because we're like right at the end of the footage. I just want to analyze this again. Okay. All right. Well, I saw. Okay, so that those balloons up there is still a little bit of pop-in. It might be the route they're taking, but it seems a little bit less prevalent. Again, maybe if my theory is correct that it's a virtual world, maybe it is a design choice, and maybe that's why it's passable. But if it's a choice on the aesthetic and that's their excuse for saying, hey, we don't have to fix pop-in, it's like, that's a little cheap. But again, if the gameplay is good and the frame rate is like this, you can't see it as well because it's a YouTube video. But if the frame rate's like this, then it's hey, it's good. Yeah, he did just slap him away. Yeah, the movements feel much smoother in whatever build this is, because it's not the one that IGN was showing off. Unless it was, and IGN just didn't do it justice. I don't know. That movement makes me think the tricks are linked to the homing attack button, too. Yeah, time of day. So that's a little bit. The animation's a bit slowed down there. Seems like there's still a little slowdown, but that's okay. Just want to take a look at the combat again. But I do like the enemy movement seems smooth. Yeah, it seems like there are a few frames you might be vulnerable there. So once you do the finishers, you're committed. So it's like don't fully commit unless you're sure that you can nail some damage on the enemies. Very cinematic, and it also makes it feel like the player has control, which I love. And then I think we've analyzed the totem pole enemy enough, so let's go ahead with that. Except for, again, I want to emphasize, I cannot stress enough, good job, Sega. Keep up that kind of movement option with Sonic. Again, fastest thing alive and most agile thing alive. Maintain speed. Let us maintain our speed while we have a tight, smooth turning radius. It seems like they're listening to that, and that's a big factor. If the ground movement and air movement, if the ground movement and air movement are like comparable, and this is what we see in the final build, that's definitely good. I cannot stress that enough. Anyway, once again, looking at the puzzle gameplay here. So he homing attacks, the platforms go up. I like the sound design they're using here. And anyway, so it demonstrates that... see, I don't know what he's doing different there, but it seems like that's just your normal homing attack. And it's like if you hold a direction from a distance and have a little momentum. Like, I need to analyze this a bit more. Because, like, you need to get onto that last platform he did a homing attack on, right? That this player did a homing attack on. And it's like, is it the way that you approach it? Because I need to look at that one more time. There's another one of those wheel-looking enemies. I was wrong, it's not a wheel, it's a top. Spinning top. But then you gotta get on this one. So it looks like... you need to have a little bit of momentum to approach this, because when he homing attacks here, he's probably holding a direction with this one. And notice that, too. That also is a very good demonstration of something that we saw. Because we need to analyze this. But that clicking sound, I mentioned it before, that click, it's like the doot, it's like the beeping sound, but they made it actually less intrusive with this, and I like that. That's a good decision. It's less... like interrupting, and it feels more natural, because like that clicking sound is like that's Sonic's lock-on sound right there. There might be a reticle. I assume that will be in the final build, or maybe there's an option to turn it off. I don't know. But like, listen. So he jumps from here. Listen to the click sound. Right from there. The second he jumps, it was like I'll pause it right at the click. Right there. It click. So we hear the click. And that means the homing reticle is on this object right here. And Sonic's all the way down here. So we're not getting some Force's homing attack. No, it seems like they've upped the homing attack range to be both higher and lower, which was, learning from the good stuff that was in 06, because, like, you could sort of homing attack up in Sonic 06. I don't know if you can homing attack below you. That would be pretty good, too. I need to actually look to see... Yeah, because like that last hit he did on the enemy here. No, that was he was targeting something lower there. Analyzing this once again. And of course, it was actually confirmed that if you press the X button, I think they're talking PS4 controller, you have an instant attack button. So like you can just homing attack straight from the ground to attack faster. No need to jump. That's definitely good. And then I think because you look here from like when he does this parry attack here. I'm glad that doesn't hurt you. That's good. He's above the enemy. Maybe that's just the parry attack. The attack animations are looking cleaner in this version. You gotta love the cinematic slowdown as well. There's the use the gears thing. We go a little bit further ahead. But yeah, like I was saying. Jumps, you hear the click, locks on. At this exact point, the reticle is on this object, and he's all the way down here. That's good. Again, like, giving Sonic a better homing attack range. Many players complained about that from Forces. So I want to point out, Sega, that, again, credit where credit is due. This is another good point of Sonic Frontiers. You've expanded the homing attack range to be more like Adventure, more like 06, giving the player a lot of range to attack. And since there is an emphasis on combat, that is very, very important. We need to praise these things that are good and say, like, constructive criticism is important, that, we're blunt and we're negative sometimes, but the things that are positive, like I am seeing more and more positives here. We need to emphasize these positives. We need to say, yes, Sega, this is what we want, because it is extended homing attack range, more movement options, and of course, the shonen or anime style influence in terms of Sonic movements, the cinematic style attacks while still having control to the player. Cinematic, but still giving the player control without having like cinematic, but not cutscene. It looks like a cutscene, but you have control of it. You have full control of the entire interaction, but everything looks cinematic. Like, all of those things are good. So yes, this homing range, that the fact that he can lock onto it from here, that's very, very good. Do more of that. And of course, notice that his movement here as well. Like, it seems like you do have to pull back on the analog stick and slow down a bit, but it seems like, again, this is what I wanted to talk about as well, because you need a little bit of momentum or maybe a different angle. But like, you get a better angle on it. There's a little bit of slowdown when Sonic attacks to sort of like, give you that feeling of you're seeing things through Sonic's perception, which is like things moving in slow motion. Because there was a bit of a did I also see, like, are you able to hold the jump button after homing attack and you get a little bit of height? It could just be slowdown, but if that's the case, that's bringing back hero style homing attack where you bounce off of enemies and you rise higher as a result. That's good. Definitely bring that back if you're doing that. And if you haven't, that would be really good. Definitely do it. I didn't see it on the balloons. Maybe you just can't do it on the balloons, but I don't know. But like, watch how he traverses these platforms. But it's the bounce there was a little bit weird, but again, it's like if you hold an analog stick direction, it looks like you have some slight control over where Sonic goes after tackling a target in the air with the homing attack, and that allows you to better position yourself to land on objects. It looks like it'll take a little bit of learning for new players, but and even for experienced players, we have to like learn how Sonic moves. So we might fail at the first, 1 or 2 times, but it looks like we have the options are there. And just everything, like, look at how he's turning the camera. You have free and complete control of the camera. You're not really locked into anything except when it makes sense to be locked into a certain camera angle. And this is good design. This is good design. Keep doing that. Give us mostly free control of the camera. Like, if an opportunity presents itself to have the camera sort of locked into place, then that's fine. But don't lock it in unless it needs to be that way. So anyway, he gets up here. Stomp on the button, triggers that. Sound design is definitely good. Spawns another collectible that you need. Collectibles seem pretty generic. This is pretty good too. The run seems still weird, but that's just my gripe with the Forces run. I'm starting to like not worry about it more and more. But anyway, we've seen the torches before. IGN didn't really do it justice. Okay, I guess there was a little bit of like stuttering and jittering with the animations there, but I mean it's just, I guess, the way he sticks to collision. I found that by accident, but I'm not going to focus too much on the animations here. They show now you can surround one, right? And it does look like Sonic speeds up with his spin, the ribbon loop thing, which is cool. Like, you can tackle one, or not same speed, I guess. They're like, but yeah, they're saying you can tackle one, or they're showing you the range of the spin cycle here of the ribbon loop move, which it seems to linger for long enough, honestly. Like it lingers long enough that you can draw like big ovals and stuff too, and that's definitely good. And I guess this is more reminiscent of what we saw. I analyzed that movement, and it's like, well, I guess when he's dashing at maximum speed, the fact that he can maintain a good turning radius with the camera is also good. But yeah, admittedly, that seems like you maintain a good sense of speed and control as I think about Adventure's control scheme and its feel. That feels good. We want more of that. That's how that feels. Like he maintained pretty good speed while maintaining a good turning radius. It seems like it's consistent throughout. And, good controls that are also consistent is a definite plus. And it shows you once again maintaining speed. The trail can linger for longer. So it gives you a pretty generous amount of options to execute the spin cycle, side loop, or I'm just going to call it ribbon loop, whatever it's called. But it gives you a lot more freedom to execute this, and they're trying to do it more justice with this gameplay. And it's like a lot of fans were calling out like delay the game if you need to. I would still say, hey, if you need to delay it, it's understandable. But Iizuka, actually addressed this in either a tweet or an interview, saying something along the lines of, "We don't need to delay Frontiers. We're confident with what we have. The team is very close to completion. Unless there were like health issues, and the team got hospitalized, or there was something like that needed to push it back." He's like, yes, then we would push it back, but Iizuka's sounding pretty confident that they're on track. And we'll talk about Iizuka's thoughts and, why his interview and the way he sounded pretty confident, why it makes more sense with the nature of this current Frontiers gameplay today. So we'll go more into that, but there's like with what we're seeing, it seems more and more like he is at least somewhat merited in being confident. We still need to see more to know that we're going to be convinced that it's like a quality game. More and more, it's seeming like there is a good sense of quality control. Anything could happen on the final release, but if they're giving us more and more of an impression, like building on like, yes, you're seeing this, here's improvements on it, we're getting better, and it's like if Iizuka is saying they're that confident with releasing it, it's like, all right, then don't let us down. If you're that confident, make sure that you can deliver. But anyway, that's pretty much the end of the gameplay. That's everything. There's the last collectible. The collectible that spawns as a result of that. But yeah, basically that's all there is to analyze. But I think the highlights for me once again were the there wasn't as much popping. I liked the 3 points that I want to emphasize. I think the smoother camera pan, the smoother feeling of movement. There's not as much slowdown. The animation seems smoother. The animations in this build seem fixed. That's definitely good. I'm glad there seems to be Chow, that all of their movement seems smooth. It seems to mesh better. It seems to be like the rate at which it's moving, because they were so proud of the lighting engine and Forces, and it's like, and Lost World's like, oh, look how smooth the gameplay is, look how fast it is. But with how big this world is and how much there is to do and how cinematic they're making it while still keeping that control to the player, like that's making me say, okay, now the up-res graphics and like the smoothness of how things are moving, it's merited because you actually have substance, you actually have gameplay. And this whole sequence right here, the running animation seems smooth. Still seems slower than Adventure, but it seems all right. Right from the smooth, the smooth-looking gameplay to the cinematic parry right here. Yeah, he did just knock him away. Maybe you hold them to parry. That's what it looked like. I hadn't seen that before. But, this looked kind of smooth. They did slow Sonic down a bit, and again, I think they said you can gain more speed as you upgrade Sonic, which is definitely good, and that factors into the HUD that we saw with speed, attack, defense, and health. Likely balancing all those upgrades is going to be the way to go. That's likely what they're going to want. You can also likely choose on how you want to upgrade. Like you can go for all speed and just enjoy momentum. You can go for like all attack power and just absolutely demolish enemies. But it's likely going to require a balance because there are tougher enemies later on that you'll be like tackling and stuff. And just I gotta say, the cinematics, the enemy design, the way that you will tackle them, the enemy behavior, the combat options, and showing what you should and shouldn't do, like demonstrating to the player. It's like there are a lot of different options, a lot of things to think while attacking. The feeling of like that cinematic finisher, while also keeping control like with the player. And of course, once again, right here demonstrating. This is very important. I've gone over it a lot, but once again, showing that hey, you can perform these strikes and take out this part of the tower, or you can do a spin cycle and take it out in one shot. And whoops, apologies. And take it out in one shot. And they also demonstrate once again maintaining that great sense of speed, right? Maintaining that great sense of speed while also maintaining that high level of smooth and tight turning radius. Very, very important. Not just the fastest thing alive, the most agile thing alive. So, and then of course, and of course, like getting the enemy down low enough, like it's like attack the top of this enemy as quickly as possible, because that's the way to take it out. The influence of Demon Slayer, the thread being like, hey, there's an opportunity to dodge or parry and then act out of it. These visual cues to the player, like not hand-holding and everything. They probably give you the tutorials first, but not hand-holding. Giving these visual cues to the player being like, hey, there's something you can do here. Experiment with mechanics. Treat the players like yes, Sonic is a series that can be marketed to kids. It was originally marketed to kids, but again, from 91 to 2009, he grew up with his audience. He stopped growing up with his audience in 2010, and fans, I'm sorry that a lot of the adventure fans weren't on the internet at that time, but it's like, we're here now, and we were expressing for the last 5 years, really since Forces, more so than any other time, just really what we were hoping to see, what we need to see out of Sonic Next. And the feel of this game, it's respecting the player. It's like it's enough to like teach younger players that want to pick it up how to interact in that world, but it's respecting the veteran, the older players, the veteran players, the older players, and not babying them, not hand holding, and like respecting their intelligence level and allowing them to actually interact with the enemy and essentially just make their own decisions based on visual and audio cues. And that's good, because I feel respected as a player, and I feel like I have control of my actions, and I can tackle it in a bunch of different ways. I can tackle a situation in front of me in a bunch of different ways. And like that parry was clean. The cinematic explosion is clean. Like so many. Like there's a lot of stuff that's it just looks so clean, and it's looking better and better. I can't jump to conclusions. I can't say whether or not it's going to deliver yet, but it's looking more and more promising, and a lot more fans are feeling that way after having seen this most recent reveal. So Azuka-san, if you're saying we're not delaying the game because we're that confident, this gameplay is reflective of that. If it's indicative of your final product, and you're able to capitalize and show us more, because it's been 5 years and we've waited a long time, so we're just hoping that like as the consumer, as your longtime fans, and since a lot of fans are calling for that more open world, that more of that freedom to the player, more of the adventure influence, and just all of it being meshed together and like really, really well, and having it make sense in terms of like that flow state, not just in terms of the player flow state, but in terms of the game's flow state when a story shows up, just having enough on screen at the time and enough activity for the player that it all like flows well together, then we're looking at something pretty solid here. my hopes are up for this game. I'm not trying to jump into the idea of like, oh, it's going to be the best game ever. Like, I want to say that. I want to jump on that as soon as I possibly can. But the thing is, we need to keep analyzing what's happening. What my feeling so far is they're doing a good job. I still need to see more on the momentum, but again, the spin cycle, seeing full control of that and having a good sense of speed with turning radius, having that tight, smooth turning radius while being able to maintain that sense of speed, that felt good. I think I still need to see changing directions on a dime, but then again, there was also this part at the beginning. Like, it looks like you have control here, and that the leaning and just everything he was doing there, that felt like SA2 control. That felt like SA2 control, and that paired with oh, I'm sorry, this was earlier on. That paired with like the way you tackle this, maintaining speed, good turning radius, fastest and most agile thing alive. That's very, very, very good. That's the kind of movement we want to see. That's the kind of movement options we want to see for the entire game, for the combat, for the free roam, and for the immediate movement options. And especially for the momentum. Especially for the momentum. The only thing we haven't seen yet is whether or not Spin Dash will have a good sense of
Use the gear as you have done before.
the only thing that we haven't seen yet, I think, is a better sense of gravity, which there seems to be sort of. The rail seemed to slow down as Sonic was grinding on it on that upward section where he just sort of went before and didn't have something where he slowed down. I'm hoping that means we do have a better sense of momentum and gravity, and we need to have like a spin dash that gravity effect so you can gain momentum by rolling downhill. I don't know. Time will tell. We'll see. But definitely feeling more positive with the reveals today. And yeah, like I said, guys, it's a roller coaster. You feel like a lot of that up and down feel where it's like, oh, this looks positive, but this looks negative, and it's like we're analyzing each one piece by piece. And overall, with what we've seen, like this is likely a later build. If this is closer to what the final product is going to be, then that's good. Is it exactly what we want to see yet? No, it's not quite there yet. There's a few more things, but it's getting there. It's getting there, and it's I think it is genuinely starting to impress adventure fans, and that's good because adventure fans have seen a lot of different gameplay styles, and we've taken the time to like emphasize a lot of what we want in terms of quality. Now, I'm not saying that modern and classic fans don't, but what they tend to want out of games, they tend to talk about either one thing, one aspect, and then what they are demanding is more simplistic. Now, it's easier to please them than it is adventure fans, but see, the thing is with adventure fans, if you aim to please adventure fans, you essentially please all three types of fans, because adventure fans not only want what classic and modern fans want, and as a classic fan myself, and I can definitely vouch for that, they don't just want what classic and modern fans want. They also want, they don't just want what they want, but what the classic and modern fans also want. So in pleasing adventure fans, you tend to please all three. It takes more work, yes, but it's worth the payoff because it restores that sense of brand integrity for Sonic that we're looking for. And I think that's what a lot of fans want to see. And, it really ties into the Sonic Movie 2 analogy, because that was a piece of media that was for every single Sonic fan. Many say it's impossible to please all three types of Sonic fans, to please every fan. Like, no, you can't please everyone. But the thing is, you can get really, really close. But the thing is, don't try to please everyone. You need to try to have one focus group. Please that one type of focus group, and in reality, you'll see that if it's that middle focus group, that adventure Dreamcast 2000s era focus group, which seems to be their target market here, if they aim to please that target market with this game, I have a very strong feeling that the other two target markets, classic and modern, will end up being pleased. I genuinely believe that. And I'm sort of like mixing like two themes and another theme in another video that I was going to talk about, but that's going to be for the Azuka interview, so I don't want to get too much into it. This was just to analyze the gameplay. So I have to say I'm liking what I'm seeing here. It's not completely there yet, but very, very positive with what I've seen so far, and I can understand why those who play tested it now have a better idea of what it's like and why they're giving it some positive reviews. It depends on what type of fans they are too. It's like, are they easily pleased? Are they like veteran gamers? Are they veteran open world players? Are they modern Sonic fans? Are they adventure Sonic fans? Are they classic Sonic fans? We'll have to see. It's worth analyzing all this, but my impressions from what I'm seeing so far, I think it's relatively positive. I'm liking what we're seeing. So we'll see as more gameplay reveals drop as more things develop on Sonic Frontiers. We'll keep covering it on this channel. Um, but yeah, that's it for now. It's pretty much all I have to say. What do y'all think? Are you liking the fact that we're covering this? Let us know in the comments below. And by the way, we've done it. We've managed to hit 800 subscribers. So you know what? I just want to say I see you guys, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. So you did it. You got us there. So tune in. Sonic's birthday, June 23rd. We are going to be starting a series on streaming a 100% playthrough of Sonic Origins when that releases. You guys got us there, and we're gonna run Sonic Origins because we're gonna see what that collection has to offer. So yeah, 800 sub special, Sonic's birthday. Tune in on Twitch, and the rest of the content will be uploaded to YouTube as we get it done. Anyway, stay tuned because you guys are getting 2 uploads tonight. The upload regarding the Azuka interview is coming next. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. This is Lightning Thunderbolt signing off. And until next time, as always, keep on staying way past